They had found soft ground. But soft ground did not mean safety. On the first night in the valley beyond the clouds, the small camp of the Red Valley tribe rested beneath large protective stones. A low fire trembled in the dark. Rain had not fallen yet, but moisture crawled through the grass like something alive. The elders slept beneath animal hide shelters. The children were kept in the center of the adults. Warriors still held their spears, but no one spoke loudly. Far out in the forest, a massive shadow stood still in the mist. It did not charge. It did not stalk like the smaller hunters. It simply stood there, as if the whole valley had opened its eyes and was watching them. Two enormous eyes reflected the moonlight from the darkness. They did not blink. They did not hurry. They did not need noise to prove power. The valley had seen them before they understood it. Kael Stonefang stood at the edge of the camp, his stone spear in his hand. Firelight crossed the thin scar running from his left cheek down to his chin. He could still feel the distant roar from earlier vibrating under the ground. Kael knew that sound did not belong to an ordinary hunter. Asha knelt beside one of her bone-warning ones. The dry bones had just clicked. Even though there was no wind, she looked down at the soft earth around the camp and saw the small night hunter's tracks retreating into the forest. Asha understood at once. When smaller predators pull back, something larger has arrived. The boy from the tribe held his wooden triceratops tight against his chest. He sat still beside the adults. His eyes were wide, but he did not cry. He did not scream. Even the child had learned that in this valley, silence could keep people alive. The giant shadow in the forest began to move. Tree trunks shook slightly with each heavy step. Leaves fell through the mist. The ground beneath the tribe trembled just enough to be felt. It did not rush out. It did not have to. The creature that owns a land does not need to hurry. A massive footprint pressed into the mud near the edge of the camp. Deep claws, heavy weight, nothing like the tall, stretched tracks of the Cloudwalker. That print made one thing clear. The tribe was not the first to step on this ground. The Red Valley chief slowly stood. He held his spear, but he did not move forward. His weathered face, marked with red earth paint, turned toward the darkness. He understood they could not win a valley with spears. They had to survive long enough to be accepted by it. Kael signaled for no one to build the fire higher. Asha signaled for everyone to tighten the protective formation. Elders in the middle, children in the middle, adults on the outside, spears low, eyes open, breathing steady. Kael was not preparing for an attack. He was preparing for a meeting. And under the valley's first moonlight, the owner appeared. The colossal creature stepped out from the forest edge. Its body was covered in thick dark brown-black fur. Its shoulders rose high. Its head was broad. Long saber-like fangs caught the glow of the low fire. A short bone horn rose from its forehead. Across its back were natural armor plates, like fossilized bark. It did not look like a beast ruled only by hunger. It looked like a piece of the valley standing up. Its eyes were deep and dimly bright in the dark. In them, the fire and the tiny shapes of humans reflected like insects caught in amber. There was no hurry in those eyes. Only ownership. The tribe stood as one body. No one ran. No one screamed. Spear tips stayed low, but ready. Every breath seemed trapped in someone's throat. Kael took one slow step forward. He lowered the tip of his spear to the ground. He did not bow too deeply. He did not surrender, but he did not challenge it. Kael knew that raising his spear now could turn the valley into a grave. Asha held her bow, but she did not draw the string. She did not only watch the fangs. She read the creature's ears, shoulders, tail, and breathing. A beast ready to strike speaks first with its body. And the owner had not said that yet. It lowered its head and sniffed the human footprints. Then it sniffed the low fire smoke. Its deep breath moved across the ground like hot wind. It was learning their scent. Volcanic ash, dried blood, lake water, cold cloud, and fear. The boy trembled, but he still did not cry. He had come too far to wake death with a scream. The Red Valley chief slowly placed his spear on the ground in front of him. Not surrender. A message without words. We did not come here to destroy. The owner released a low growling. It was not loud, but it was deep enough to shake the chest. It began circling the camp. Not attacking, only studying the fire, the warning lights, the shelters, and the strangers who had fallen into its territory. It moved around them like a king circling an unfamiliar thing. Every step crushed grass and soft soil, leaving deep prints behind. Every step reminded them that this place was not empty. It was only deciding. Kael watched carefully. The creature did not charge into the fire. It did not tear down the camp. It did not attack the children. It only tested the boundary. Kael understood. This was not a hunt. It was a warning. Asha followed the creature's path with her eyes. She noticed old claw marks on the trees around the camp. Higher than a human head. Deep and even, not random. They had built camp near its patrol path. Kael signaled for the tribe to move back from the forest edge. They gathered the cords, dragged the hides, supported the elders, kept the children in the center, and moved slowly without turning their fear into panic. Kael chose to pull back. On the first night, survival mattered more than holding ground. The owner stood between the forest and the camp, watching as they moved away from the marked area. It did not chase them. It did not roar louder. It did not rush. It only watched to see if they understood the law. Kael looked at the claw marks on the trees, then at the fresh print in the mud. And he understood. This valley had rules. If they wanted to live here, they had to learn those rules before they learned to call it home. The next morning, sunlight rose over the valley beyond the clouds. Mist lifted from the grass. The bright lake reflected the strips of cloud still hanging between the cliffs. The tribe woke after a tense night. Their camp had been moved farther from the forest edge. The valley had not attacked them. But it had not accepted them either. Asha examined the tracks around the camp. Small predator tracks, herbivore tracks, the owner's tracks, direction, distance, turns, the line between forest and shelter. She read the soft earth like a story written in the night. Then Asha used her stone knife to draw in the dirt. Forest, lake, patrol path, forbidden ground, higher ground, safe route. There were no written words. But the ground had given them a map. Kael and the chief stood over the dirt map. Kael pointed to the area near the forest and signaled that no one should enter it. Then he pointed to higher grassland, where large rocks blocked the wind and the patrol path was farther away. Kael did not want to conquer the valley. He wanted to understand which part of it could live beside humans. A small scouting group left the camp. Kael walked in front with his spear. Asha moved beside him, reading every track and bent blade of grass. A few warriors followed, but they did not carry themselves like hunters. They left camp not to hunt. They went to learn the boundaries. Near the lake, a small herd of herbivores was drinking. They lifted their heads when they saw the humans, but they did not run far. Here, every living thing survived by knowing where not to stand for too long. Asha found the owner's large tracks stopping at the edge of the lake. Those tracks did not go into the deep water. Even the owner had places it did not enter. Then the surface of the lake moved. A large shadow glided beneath the water's reflection, then vanished into the darker depth. The valley did not only have laws on land. Something under the water kept its own territory. Kael stepped back from the shoreline and signaled that no one should take water from the deep section. He did not need to see the entire creature to believe its warning. They found a small stream flowing from the rocks. Not large, not beautiful, but enough to live. In the new valley, even drinking water had to be learned all over again. The boy was led to the stream by adults. He filled a dried gourd while warriors kept watch. His wooden triceratops stayed in his hand. Life here could not be taken carelessly. At last, Kael, Asha, and the chief found higher ground. It was away from the forest edge, away from the deep water, protected by large rocks, and open enough to see danger coming. Maybe this was a place where the tribe could stay for more than one night. They moved camp. Adults carried hides, branches, stone tools, and the little food they had. Elders were helped forward. Children stayed in the center. A small ember was carried carefully in a stone bowl. They did not claim the land. They moved like cautious guests. Asha placed bone markers around the new camp boundary. They were not only warning traps. They were the line between curiosity and survival. Kael drove his spear into the ground at the edge of the new camp and looked toward the distant forest. He did not believe the valley had spared them. He only believed they had avoided breaking its rules for one more night. Far away, hidden in the trees, the owner watched. It saw that they had moved away from its path. Then the creature turned and disappeared. That was not peace. But in Kael Stonefang's world, one night without being hunted could be a beginning. On the second day, the valley offered them food. But food in strange land always comes with a question. The tribe gathered wild fruit, roots, and dry branches under the watch of warriors. No one went alone. No one ate anything Asha had not checked. Asha did not eat something just because it looked beautiful. In the forest, beauty can be a warning. Kael saw a small herd of herbivores suddenly run from one direction in the trees. They were not running from humans. They were running from something larger moving through the forest. The trees shook. Birds burst from the canopy. The shadow of the owner moved behind the ancient trunks. The owner was on patrol. A few younger tribe members panicked and almost ran back toward camp by the shortest path, cutting too close to the forest. Kael stopped them. He lowered his spear across the path and signaled them toward the longer route over higher ground. Fear always wants the shortest path. But the shortest path often runs through the mouth of danger. Kael did not let them run on instinct. Instinct may save one person. Discipline saves the tribe. A moment later, the owner stepped out exactly where the old path crossed. If they had taken the short way, they would have walked straight into its patrol. Asha looked at Kael. She saw it in his eyes. Kael was not just surviving the valley. He was learning how the valley thought. At the edge of the grassland, the small predators from the night before appeared again. They stalked a young herbivore. Silent, quick, waiting for weakness. The small eyes had laws of their own. They waited for an opening. But when the owner roared once, they all pulled back at once. The whole valley listened. Kael watched and understood. This creature did not rule by strength alone. It kept order. It did not destroy everything it saw. It did not hunt without reason. It was a boundary every other life form had learned to remember. Every time the valley moved, Asha added another line to her invisible map of survival. Predator paths, herbivore routes, the owner's patrol, safe water, forbidden ground. By evening, the tribe returned to camp with only a little food. Some roots, some fruit, some water. But they brought everyone back. The chief divided the food among the elders and the children first. In the Red Valley tribe, survival was not only about eating first. It was knowing who needed tomorrow the most. Kael looked toward the forest and heard the owner moving far away. He knew the real test had not come yet. That evening, the valley changed its breath. Dark clouds rolled down from the mountain rim. The wind shifted. Birds flew low. Grass bent in one direction. Leaves turned their pale undersides toward the sky. Asha felt the moisture on her skin and knew heavy rain was coming. In a new valley, rain could be as dangerous as fire. The small stream that had saved them in the morning began to rise quickly. Clear water turned muddy. Small branches were carried away. Stones started rolling beneath the current. The gentle stream was changing its face. Kael signaled for the camp to move higher before the flood arrived. He did not wait for danger to prove it was real. On a raised mound, the owner stood watching the rising stream. Then it roared toward the deep forest. For the first time, the tribe saw the owner preparing for something too. The rain did not arrive like water. It arrived like a wall. Leaves shook violently. Soft earth turned to mud. The small stream became black water, carrying branches, stones, and dirt. The tribe moved again. Not because of a monster. Because the ground beneath them had begun to change. Asha tied the groups together with leather ropes. The same way she had done in the Cloud Sea. She had used rope to cross the clouds. Now she used it to cross water. Kael stood in the rain, pushing others upward. Water and mud ran down his face. Again, he chose the last position. The morning stream became a blind animal. The boy nearly slipped in the mud, his wooden figure still clutched in one hand. An adult pulled the leather rope tight and caught him before he fell toward the rushing water. The future slipped one step, and the whole tribe pulled it back. Then the impossible happened. The owner charged through the rain. Not toward the humans. Toward the flood. The giant creature slammed its shoulder into a fallen tree trunk, forcing it across the path of the water that was turning toward the camp. Wood cracked. Mud exploded into the air. Black water struck the trunk and roared like a trapped beast. Kael saw it and understood. It was not saving the tribe out of kindness. It was protecting the valley from being torn apart. Asha saw the narrow space between disaster and opportunity. If the humans pushed smaller stones into the weak point beside the trunk, the new camp might survive. Kael led several warriors forward, rolling smaller rocks toward the edge of the flood while keeping away from the main current. Asha held safety ropes behind them. For the first time, humans and the owner fought the same enemy. No promise. No full trust. Only one river that had to be stopped. The owner pushed the tree into place. Kael and the warriors rolled stones. Asha held the ropes. The black water struck the barrier, then slowly forced itself into another rocky channel. And then the flood turned. The tribe stood on high ground and watched the black water miss the new camp. No one cheered. No one celebrated. They only breathed. Sometimes survival does not need a voice. The owner stood in mud and rain. Its dark fur hung heavy. Its backplates were covered in dirt. It breathed hard, but it did not roar. In that moment, it no longer looked like a monster. It looked like the valley after a battle. Kael lowered his spear, breathing hard, staring at the creature through the rain. He understood that power was not always destruction. Asha remained cautious. She did not trust it. But she no longer only feared it. The owner turned away and walked into the forest, not driving the humans from the high ground. This time, it did not make them leave. In the mud, the owner's massive footprint rested beside Kael's smaller one. Rainwater slowly filled them both. Not peace, but maybe the beginning of permission. The morning after the flood, the valley still stood. And so did the tribe. The rain had stopped. Mist rose from the grass. Water dripped from ancient branches. The low fire was rebuilt. The high ground camp remained. The chief looked around, then nodded to Kael. He did not call this place home. But for the first time, he did not call it a place they had to leave. The tribe began building stronger shelters. Stone, branches, animal hides, woven grass, not just a place to sleep for one night. They began building for tomorrow. Kael and Asha checked the boundary after the rain. They found the owner's footprints circling the camp during the night. It had come close to the fire, close to the shelters, close to where the children slept. But it had not broken the fire. It had not destroyed the shelter. It had not touched the children. Then Asha noticed a rock wall in the distance. The rain had washed mud from its face, revealing old red markings beneath. She moved closer. On the stone were a sun symbol, a human handprint, a horned beast, and a flame. It was not the mark of an animal. It was the mark of people. The chief placed his hand on the red symbol. His fingers trembled. His old face changed, as if he had just seen a dream from before he was born. He recognized that red, not from the valley, from something much older in the tribe's memory. Kael looked at the symbols, then toward the mountains beyond the forest. A thin column of smoke rose into the sky. Not from their camp. Kael understood that they were not the first Red Valley people to come here. On the other side of the valley, there was smoke. And where there is smoke, there are people. Kael stood before the ancient red symbol. Asha stood beside him. The tribe waited behind them in silence. Far in the forest, the owner remained between the trees. Not attacking, only watching. Sunlight after the rain struck the scar on Kael's face. He said, "If people were here before us, then we need to know whether they are still alive." or whether they became the warning. The view rose above the valley. The tribe's new camp rested on high ground. The owner stood deep in the forest. On the rock wall, the ancient red handprints glowed beneath the sun. Far beyond the trees, a thin line of smoke climbed into the sky. And inside the valley they thought they had just discovered. An old secret was waiting to wake up.